What if I told you that Steven Spielberg nearly turned down directing The Color Purple? Oprah Winfrey's casting came from a strange coincidence, and the film made Oscar history for all the wrong reasons. Behind the powerful story of Celie and her journey to freedom lies a production filled with unexpected twists, controversies, and weird Hollywood decisions. Today, we're uncovering weird facts about The Color Purple 1985 that will change the way you see this landmark film. Spielberg almost said no. When producer Quincy Jones first approached Steven Spielberg about directing The Color Purple, the director hesitated. Known mainly for blockbusters like Jaws, E.T., and Indiana Jones, Spielberg wasn't sure he was the right person to tell a story about Black women in the Deep South. He worried he wouldn't do justice to Alice Walker's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. But Jones convinced him by saying Spielberg had the emotional depth to capture the humanity of the characters. Spielberg finally agreed, though later admitted he toned down some of the novel's darker themes. Ironically, the project he almost rejected became one of his most celebrated dramas. The weird twist is that Spielberg's blockbuster reputation almost cost cinema one of its most heartfelt and intimate films, showing that sometimes stepping outside of comfort zones leads to lasting masterpieces. Oprah's casting was a coincidence. Oprah Winfrey's big screen debut as Sophia is one of the most iconic performances in the film, but her casting happened in the weirdest way. At the time, Oprah wasn't yet the superstar talk show host she would become. She was working in local television in Chicago when she read Alice Walker's novel and became obsessed with it. By chance, she heard a film was being made and auditioned completely against Hollywood odds. Spielberg was so impressed with her raw authenticity that he cast her, even though she had no film experience. Oprah later revealed she thought she had ruined her audition and cried afterward, convinced she had blown her chance. Instead, it launched her acting career and earned her an Academy Award nomination. It's one of the strangest Hollywood stories. A future media mogul stumbled into stardom through sheer passion and timing. Whoopi Goldberg wrote a letter to Spielberg. Whoopi Goldberg was a stand-up comedian and stage performer before The Color Purple. She was virtually unknown in Hollywood when she wrote a bold letter directly to Steven Spielberg after hearing about the film. In the letter, she told him she was destined to play Celie, the lead role. Spielberg was intrigued, and after watching her one-woman show in New York, he agreed she was perfect for the part. Goldberg later said she was terrified at the audition but believed she was meant for it. Her gamble paid off. Her performance earned critical acclaim and an Oscar nomination. The weird fact here is that Goldberg essentially willed her way into Hollywood history, with nothing more than determination and a handwritten note. It's a story that proves sometimes, in show business, being bold enough to ask is the first step to greatness. The real Alice Walker objected at first. Alice Walker, the author of The Color Purple, wasn't immediately thrilled with the idea of a Hollywood adaptation, especially one directed by Spielberg. She worried the film might dilute the raw power of her story, particularly its themes of sexuality and violence. During production, she clashed with Spielberg and the studio over elements that were softened or left out. However, after seeing the final product, Walker admitted she was moved by the performances and the spirit of the adaptation. The weird twist is that a film now celebrated for bringing Walker's novel to a global audience almost didn't happen because of her doubts. While not everything from the book made it to the screen, Walker's initial resistance highlights the tension between literary authenticity and Hollywood storytelling, a strange balancing act that continues in adaptations today. Spielberg left out major themes. One of the strangest aspects of Spielberg's adaptation is what he chose not to include. The novel The Color Purple deals explicitly with Celie's sexuality and her romantic relationship with Shug Avery. Spielberg, however, downplayed this element, fearing mainstream audiences in 1985 weren't ready for such bold themes. He later admitted he regretted not handling Celie's sexuality with more honesty. Critics at the time noted that the omission made the film feel less radical than the book. Despite this, the performances and core story still carried emotional weight. The weird irony is that Spielberg, known for pushing cinematic boundaries in other genres, pulled back here. While his choice may have made the film more commercially accessible, It also sparked decades of debate over how much Hollywood should censor when adapting challenging material. Danny Glover was nervous to play Mr. Danny Glover played Mr., one of the most abusive and hated characters in cinema history. But behind the scenes, Glover was deeply conflicted about taking the role. Known for his activism and gentle off-screen personality, he worried audiences would forever associate him with cruelty. His fears weren't unfounded. Many viewers admitted they struggled to separate Glover from Mr. for years. Glover later said he received angry reactions in public because of how convincing his performance was. The weird part is that his most powerful and acclaimed performance also haunted him in real life. Despite this, Glover considered it an honor to bring such a complex villain to life, knowing it would spark necessary conversations about abuse, redemption, and generational trauma. It's a strange paradox, playing an unforgettable role that also comes with real-life baggage. It made Oscar history in a bad way. The Color Purple received 11 Academy Award nominations in 1986, including Best Picture, Best Actress, and Best Supporting Actress. But in a shocking twist, it didn't win a single award. To this day, it holds the record for the most Oscar nominations without a win, tied with The Turning Point 1977. Many saw this as a major snub, sparking debates about race and Hollywood's recognition of Black-centered stories. Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Margaret Avery were all nominated but lost, despite overwhelming praise for their performances. The weird fact is that while the film was a box office hit and cultural milestone, the industry refused to award it. Over time, though, The Color Purple has been reassessed and celebrated as a classic, proving that Oscars don't always define a film's legacy. Quincy Jones's passion project. Music legend Quincy Jones wasn't just the producer of The Color Purple, he was its driving force. Jones had read the novel and was determined to bring it to the screen, even when studios hesitated. He personally convinced Spielberg to direct and fought to keep the adaptation faithful to Walker's vision. The weird part? This was one of Jones's first major Hollywood film productions. Known for shaping the music industry, he stepped into the film world and orchestrated one of the most ambitious projects of the 1980s. He also oversaw the film's score, blending gospel, jazz, and African rhythms to capture the cultural spirit of the story. Without Jones's influence, the film likely would never have happened. It's a strange but inspiring reminder that sometimes the biggest creative pushes come from outside the movie industry itself. Mixed reactions from the Black community. While The Color Purple was celebrated by critics and audiences worldwide, reactions within parts of the Black community were complicated. Some activists and scholars felt Spielberg's version leaned too heavily on stereotypes of abusive Black men, overshadowing the novel's more nuanced portrayals. Others criticized the film for being directed by a white filmmaker instead of someone within the Black community. At the same time, many praised the movie for giving powerful roles to Black actresses and for shining a spotlight on overlooked history. The weird contradiction is that the same film that elevated representation also stirred debate about who gets to tell certain stories. Decades later, The Color Purple remains both beloved and controversial, proof that groundbreaking art often comes with divided reactions. It inspired a musical and remake. One of the weirdest facts about The Color Purple is how far its legacy has stretched beyond the 1985 film. In 2005, it was adapted into a Broadway musical produced by Oprah Winfrey herself, earning Tony Awards and critical acclaim. Then, in 2023, a new film adaptation of the musical was released, introducing the story to yet another generation. The fact that a single novel inspired an Oscar-nominated movie, a hit Broadway show, and then another movie decades later is unusual in Hollywood. It shows the lasting power of Alice Walker's story and how different artists reinterpret it for new audiences. The 1985 version remains the most iconic, but the continued reinventions prove the tale's themes of resilience, love, and redemption resonate across time. It's weird and wonderful that a story once doubted by studios became an enduring cultural phenomenon.